Jason Statham versus a bunch of sharks and Megalodons. How in the hell could you fork that up? What's going on, guys? Thank you so much, guys, for clicking here. I really do appreciate it. And welcome to my review of Meg 2 The Trench. I found that I was a little bit hesitant on because I reviewed the first one. I've only watched it once, and that was back when that was in theaters back in 2018, I believe. And rolling into this, as I do with just about every movie, unless I absolutely want to know nothing about it, like Scream, I watch reviews, I watch just news articles and just how it's going. So, rolling into this, I kind of figured it was how it was actually going to be. And just like the first one, it follows a group of scientists who must outrun and outswim the titular Megalodons when a malevolent mining operation threatens their mission and forces them into a high-stakes battle for survival. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't think this was terrible, but it wasn't the best. It could have been a little bit better. We've had Jaws, which at the time of its release, back in the 70s, I believe, is still considered one of the greatest classic shark movies of all time. And it's more like on the scary side, the tensity side. It knew what it was. And then we had Deep Blue Sea and like maybe a few others I can't really think of on the top of my head, but we've had shark movies done before. And whenever it came to the Meg, I felt like that they could have done something a little better, a little different, which they did, if you want to look at it in a certain perspective. But I just don't feel like these movies really held up to their full potential. So before getting into any more of that, let's start off with the positives for Meg 2, The Trench. First and foremost, I gotta say, Jason Statham, he was pretty kick-ass. I did like his character. I like Jason Statham and about everything he plays. He's always a badass. He kicks ass and takes names. And it was really interesting seeing him versus a Megalodon, a shark. Especially by the time of the third act, he was doing his thing, using swords and bombs and all that, using his motorboat and just going after these sharks and these big-ass things. That was pretty entertaining. I did like that. I did like how he handled himself. And as far as the rest of the characters go, there's only one character that I actually liked, that I actually found myself laughing at because he was sort of the comedy relief, played by Paige Kennedy. And he's basically the comic relief. I can't really say any more than that, but he was basically the comic relief, and every time he showed up on screen, he would make his funny quips. I actually did get a couple of laughs out of him, the most actually out of him. And as far as the movie, atmosphere looked, there was this scene where they actually go like 25,000 feet under the sea to the actual trench itself, and that was pretty cool. And I know a lot of people probably say that that was just a rip-off from the Underwater movie that had Kristen Stewart in it. And yeah, I can kind of see that, but I like the way that they presented that in this. The all-out intensity of that scene was pretty good. I do give it that. Plus, with the special effects that it showed whenever the creatures was fighting each other, and the Megalodons and those little weird alligator shark looking like things. I do admit those scenes looked cool, especially when they were fighting with each other and the underwater sequences when it was showing all those creatures trying to attack Statham and his group and everything. That actually did look cool. That, unfortunately, is about the only good things I can say about this. As I dive into my negatives, the movie, it just felt sluggish. It mostly focused on a bunch of characters that nobody really cares for, as far as I can tell, with everything I've been reading up on it, with all the critics I've been seeing talk about it. It's basically a human-focused story that has Jason Statham go up against sharks for like 15 minutes. How the hell do you screw that up?
What the fuck?
Now again, like I said at the beginning of this video, they were trying something different and they were trying something new. But that doesn't give them the right to actually take away from what I'm sure a lot of you has paid to go see this movie for. Jason Statham going up against a bunch of sharks. Again, that usually happens, that mostly happens like the last 15, 20 minutes of this movie. That's not good. Because you spend the rest of the movie just dealing with these characters that you just don't give a fork about. You just don't give a shirt about. And it just spends a lot of the time with a bunch of dialogue that just like pointless. Just really pointless. And as I said about the comedy, they even add insult to injury that aside from that side character I mentioned earlier from Paige Kennedy, he's the only character I actually liked. He's the only other side character I actually liked. But the rest of the characters was just dull, a complete dud. When they tried to do comedy themselves, when it showed like the rest of the characters try to like be like smart with each other, and it just fell flat. I mean, nothing but crickets was going on in my head. It didn't do nothing for me. As much as this pains me to say, I really did want to like this movie. And like I said before, rolling into this, I kind of figured it was going to be exactly like the first movie. I've only reviewed that once, and I've only watched it once, way back when it was actually in theaters. Like with that one, I kind of figured I'd feel the same way about this one that I did with that one. And I hate being right. God, I really do hate being right. Even though I've seen the first one only once, it just felt like a retrend. It felt like the same song and dance. Like they just didn't really try that hard. It's a sequel to basically felt like, it's a sequel that basically felt like a reboot with the same actor, with the same characters or whatever. And it just, to me, it just didn't feel like that they put that much effort in the story. And again, it felt like the same old song and dance. We've seen this before. There's nothing new. It felt like a reoccurrence. And to me, that's not going to cut it. That's really not going to cut it. In a way, this isn't a terrible, terrible film. It isn't crap. But it is so bad that it's good. Like, you can have a good time with it and just, turn your brain off and just have a good time, but it's just not something that is just grand and epic. It just felt so generic, especially with the one-liners that Jason Statham would throw out, like something out of an old school 80s cheesy action flick. Plus, to add insult to injury, the PG-13 rating didn't help nothing. Didn't do the movie any favors at all. Just like with the first one, they watered it down because the company, the studio execs wanted more money. They wanted more teenagers to go see this. But if it's a shark movie, you can't really do that and it actually being good. Yes, it may be successful at the box office, but just like the first one, we don't know, it's still early yet. Still, when you make a shark movie, and it being PG-13, it just feels weird. It's like making a Halloween movie and it being PG-13, or a Hellraiser, or a Friday the 13th. It's not done. It doesn't feel full throttle. It doesn't feel like it reached its full potential. You see a bunch of these scenes where the sharks eat people and, ripping people up, but they cut it so much to where something was there. Something gory was there, but they trimmed it down so much that it's like, what's the point of even having a shark movie? What's the point of even having sharks swallow people up if you can't see the goods? Me being a gore hound, I've got to have my cake and eat it too. Of course that's going to get on my nerves. But you can't tell me that a shark movie deserves that. You just can't. Like with Deep Blue Sea was actually better in that department than Meg. Plus, in the third act, even though that it is the best part of the movie, it's the only best part of the movie. Because you actually get what you pay for like 15, 20 minutes of it. That just won't do. They even throw some stupid scenes in there with some of the side characters that has nothing to do with the movie. Just these cameo characters that they decided to throw out lines to, which was pointless within itself. And it just, you have this one guy talking on the phone and being like just condescending, and then like turning to these ladies and saying something sexist to them, and it's like, really, dude? Really? Was that really important? Like, at all? Nobody in the theater laughed. And the theater I went to was like half, it wasn't crowded, but there was enough people for you to actually get a laugh out of if it was actually funny. Nothing in the comedy sort and nothing in the characters department other than that other side character I mentioned earlier did nothing. And to me, this movie just felt like kind of a ripoff of Jaws. To clarify, I'm not that much of a fan of the shark genre, but what I've seen, like especially in Deep Blue Sea, I did like those. And I did watch the first Jaws, and it was pretty interesting. But still, I'm more of a casual fan. So going into these, I knew what I was getting into, but I was like still hoping a little bit, for something different, for something better. And unfortunately, I just didn't get that. The movie wasn't terrible. It did have its moments, but ultimately failed to live up to its full potential. And to live up from something I wanted to see in a shark movie, period. Because when you have Jason Statham go up against a bunch of sharks and megalodons that you pay to see in the last 15-20 minutes, that's mostly the reason why I was caught off guard. So Meg 2, The Trench, what was your thoughts on it? Have you seen this yet? Are you a fan of these films? Are you a fan of the direction that this particular one took? Are you a fan of the shark genre at all, or do you just not care if you've seen better? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Make sure to click that bell icon. Set it to all so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.